Shalom, family. Thank you so much for joining us here at Remnant House, the home of the strong and the very courageous. And tonight we've got a special report for you. We're going to be discussing a very important topic. And as a matter of fact, just today, our friend over at naturalnews.com, Mike Adams, just put out a very important emergency report concerning the very topic that we're going to be talking about tonight. And so I'm grateful for every one of you that join us. If you're on Facebook or you're on YouTube, we're grateful that you took the time to sit with us tonight. I believe what you're going to hear is going to be very powerful and important information that will bless you. So first of all, let's park all that fear that our adversary is trying desperately to get us to operate in, because how many know that perfect love casts out all fear? Somebody say amen. And tonight joining me will be the lead on New Kingdom Energy, and our brother and my very good friend, Jeff Provisierro. And Jeff, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Of course, you know, you're on the east side of New Kingdom, so it's not so hard. We did have a traffic jam yesterday, I will admit. So as we were coming back home from our staycation, we ran into, right at the flagpole, I'll have to post a video somewhere on YouTube or something. No, on our discussion board. And Mindy and I were laughing because, well, we got behind Drew and he must have been reading something. So we're honking the horn as we're coming in. So there it is, the first official traffic jam of New Kingdom. How about that, huh? We had a traffic jam. How about that? It was bumper to bumper traffic down the driveway.
You came into contact with your own policy.
Mindy and I were cracking up so hard because it was like, oh my goodness, we got our first traffic jam. Yeah, it's like that. Remember the story where they talk about the town that only had two cars and the two cars ran into each other? That's what it made me think of. It's like, oh, the only accident we've ever had, it's the only two cars in the whole town, and they happen to hit each other. You got to be kidding me.
Well, the good news is the vortexes are getting smaller. So
we're running out of time. So, you know, what he's talking about, folks, is whenever people come here, Elohim puts them through a bit of a vortex. It's never an easy arrival. But I think we're running.
Drew is a tough port of entry. He's a tough vortex. But
he is a tough. You're right.
Yeah.
He is a tough port of entry, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, he put you through the ringer. I was laughing. We were laughing. Oh, we got to tell him this story. This is hilarious. We got to tell him this. So Jeff had been like a member of Remnant House for like a year and a half or something, like 2 years.
2 years.
But then he's like, hey, I want to come out there with you guys. And and you know, he had to get through Pastor Drew. You know, Pastor Drew, for those of you who don't know, has been with me since 1999, and he is very protective. Let's just put it like that. So needless to say, he put Jeff through a little bit of a ringer. And what was it? How did you describe it? You said
well,
I forget how you said it.
Well, any of you who are concerned about, like, how do I become a member, or is it hard to become a member of Remnant House? All I can tell you is I was a member and I couldn't be a member. So, that was the first time I've ever had to interview for something I was already. It was bizarre, but yeah.
See, you wanted to go to a new level. Oh no! Now you got to pass a new level there. Yeah. So that was very funny. What was it? I think it was one of the Marx brothers that said, "I would never join a club that would have me as a member."
When I found out Remnant House wouldn't take me, that's when I knew. I wasn't sure before.
That's when he knew, man. That's the house for me. They made me work hard to get in. That's hilarious.
When I found out they wouldn't take me, that's what I knew Remnant House was for real. You always say, "What is that moment for you?" Like, yeah, I got a word from Elohim, but when they had that level of discernment with me, I was like, wow, this is a real house. But yeah,
that's hilarious. Oh, that's funny. Well, we've certainly enjoyed. As you can tell, Jeff is a very fun guy, and I've enjoyed him. But let me tell you something about my buddy Jeff a little bit. When he came to us, one of his skill sets was energy technology. And this was something that I already had a considerable interest in. And so Jeff has basically worked alongside with me. Well, actually, he's taken the lead on NewKingdom Energy. But it's been really, really good to have not only brothers that are 100% here for the king. In fact, that's a Jeff thing. His question is always, why are you here? And it's a great question. And I love you for it. I appreciate that you have very steady understanding of why you're here, what you're here to do, and why the king put you here. And I think that's extremely important and amazingly good advice for people that are part of a house or part of any work. You should ask yourself why you're there, and it better be for the king. It shouldn't be for some personality or some person or some protective self-preservation, whatever. Nope, it should be because the king told you to. And he put it in your heart, and now you know, and that word is what keeps you in place. We've also seen some people that couldn't pass that test, haven't we, Jeff?
Well, it's true of anything. If you don't get a word directly from the Father on anything, you're not going to last. You're not going to sustain. You're not going to have a reason to, regardless of the situation, whatever the situation is. So it's, but especially when you're in the desert, which, by the way, it's interesting enough. It used to be, oh, you guys are out there, crazy wilderness, desert. What are you insane? But in the last couple of years, it's people. It's becoming a place to be in certain sectors.
Just yesterday, when we were hanging out, we stopped at Safeway up in Wilcox, which is an hour and a half from here, folks, and we stopped there to get some supplies. And as is oft our behavior, if you will, or our traditions and our ways, our manner, we strike up conversations with people all the time. Mindy and I are quite fun when we go out. We have a game where we play not a game, but it's what we do is we just act like everybody's old friends. So we just start talking to everybody, it doesn't matter who they are. And they start laughing with us and she was in the back of the store and I could hear her laughing. And I go back there. I'm not even all the way back there. I'm like, all right, you guys are having way too much fun. And the whole section, there had to be 7 or 8 people busting up laughing with her. It was hilarious, but that's, and anyway, so as we leave, we ran into a lady and she had the cutest dog. And so Mindy makes a comment about her dog and just strikes up a conversation. And the lady says, yeah, I'm from Portal. And well, we're right down the road from you. And so we told her where we were. And I said, yeah, we're the people that prayed for the rain. And you should have seen her eyes. She went, I said, well, Kim down at the old diner. We stopped in there. And Jeff, you remember that. We sat down and we brought tears to her eyes because we told her why we were here. And it was the first week. We had just gotten here. And I told her, buy an umbrella. That's what I told her. I said, you better buy an umbrella. And we had 15 inches the first year, about 14 inches the second year. And we're on our way now. I don't know where we're at, but it's starting to rain. I saw the rain coming in before we started.
We're speaking with a real estate agent in this area. There's not that many. And, she's talking about all this and that. And wealthy people from California have suddenly figured out this area and they're coming out and they're taking over this town and taking over that. She said, shh, don't tell anybody. There's a secret. The secret's getting out. There's people are figuring out there's water in southern Arizona now. And
things have changed.
I didn't tell her. Yeah, I know the prayer team leader. But it was a case of definitely a case of calling the home run before.
Amen.
Because it was desert. People were leaving. Now they're coming. So
that's how we bought the place. If you remember, we bought it because people were leaving, and we were able to get it and get favorable terms because they were all just abandoning ship. And so so think of like two-way freeway, like they're all leaving. We're the only car going this way. Everybody else is going that way. We're the only ones coming this way. Like, where are you guys all going? Oh, it's drought. It's terrible. It's going to be horrible. You need to get out of here. Run for your lives. And then we're like, well, we're going to pray. Yeah. And 15 inches later, you know, or 2-3 years later, a couple now seasons, here we're in third season with the rain coming in. And people are realizing that maybe this is the place to be. Maybe there's something going on down here, which is exciting.
It's great to be part of
but anyway,
all the Remnant is the place
exactly
to be anywhere. Yeah.
Exactly. And to be with your brethren is priceless. We have our challenges, we have our battles, we've got our things we got to overcome, but we do it together. And I really am super grateful for that because well, I've built everything. Usually whenever I would do things, I would do it with the understanding I'd be the only one that's going to be reliable, right? So it's nice to have other reliable people that are part of the team. And so I'm thankful for you, my brother. I really am. And I wanted to talk about, we're going to talk a little bit about New Kingdom Energy and why people should care about that. And I want to talk about why we created that a little bit because we're who are we? Why should we even pay any attention to what we're talking about and why we're here? What motivated me personally is the understanding and the prophetic sight that we are being set up. Now, in 2019, in the fall of 2019, I had several projects in front of me, and I went before Elohim and I asked him, what should I focus on? And he spoke to me and he said, in my heart, focus on the oil. That's what he told me in my spirit. And so I came out, I told Mindy, I said, I think we're supposed to focus on the oil. And so we're going to focus on Shemen Raphael. Okay. And those of you that have been with us, I don't have a bottle near me, do I? I might somewhere around here. There's usually one around all the time. So he said, focus on the oil. And you all remember what happened exactly right after that. So we focused on the oil through the winter. And by the spring, we were shipping out bottles of oil, Shemen Raphael, to our members. And by the way, if it wasn't for one of our critical partners, shout out to California, to my sister, who with bum legs kicked the door open and made sure we got that done. And we lost zero to this pandemic. We didn't lose a single person. And we were very grateful for that. And I felt like we did it right on time. Like we got in there right on time. People got that. And they were able to not only avoid this, situation, but it also was a remedy for other things. So we were excited about that. And we had nothing but good feedback and good, wonderful testimonials. Elohim continued to perform basically miracles and heal people with the oil, and still does. So if you need oil, let us know. And so the same urgency came into my ruach about energy. So I'm only telling you that to tell you it was the same sense as I'm looking at what shall I focus on? What do we need to solve? We need to solve the energy problem because they're setting you up. This is a massive setup that we're walking into. And so that became a subject of prayer for me. And it was a relatively short period of time. And I began to get impressed that he was going to lead us into how to do it. And he would do it with things that were off the shelf, which is pretty exciting for us. Basically, we had to figure out what he meant by that. And we started asking some questions. So we're not going to, show you things that are completely brand new. These are things that are repurposed to solve a problem that we all have. We all have appliances and things that we've now come to depend on that require electricity. It's really not that complicated. Okay. All that has to happen is one time. And believe me, more than once has our power gone off and we're scrambling to power up propane generators and try to figure out how to
I apologize. Sorry. My eyes were looking down. It was looking.
Oh, that's all right.
I looked at myself on screen and it looked
now
weird.
now you shrank and you're too low. Now there you go. Right there's perfect. Don't move. You're good. You're good. Okay. So what was I saying? But anyway,
scrambling with the generator.
So all we have to do is, hey Jeff, how'd you like playing with the generators? You like that? You have fun? You have fun with that? Plugging in refrigerators? Did you have fun? Plugging in the propane? Like, oh great, here we go. And it's lightning and thunder and everything else, right? Nobody enjoys that. Okay, that's a challenge that we all have to deal with, especially now. And out here, of course, we're on rural power, so you can imagine we would run into problems there and what have you. Now, for many, many people, the solutions were, conventional. But what we began to realize is that we need to come up with a solution that not only provides people the solution to their energy challenges, but doesn't make them vulnerable. All right. So we decided to focus on that. We took some of your background and we looked at some of the tech that you came through. Some of it was very unique. So by the way, we have several ways to solve the same problem. We've come up with how many ways, Jeff?
It's an embarrassment of riches. He has provided lots of
three
methods.
Different methods. Yeah, 3 different methods to get to the same place. So that's good. That was exciting to us. And so that's where New Kingdom Energy was born. We decided that at that point, we wanted to provide these to people. And we had a whole whopping 2 people, who said, hey, we want to participate in that. We'd like one when you're done. And we want to help out. 2. That's it. Not 200, not 2,000, not 20,000. 2 people for whom I am immeasurably grateful, because they at least gave us enough resource to get started, to be able to resolve some issues. So that's where New Kingdom Energy was born. And those 2 partners don't know it, but they're going to be blessed in ways that they haven't figured out yet. And I'm super grateful to both of them for their grace and their love. Now, having said that, so we got off the ground, we got some things going, we were able to get the things that we needed, but we started to notice some problems. And that's what I want to bring you in, Jeff, because we started to notice that not all components were going to work. And one of them was really scary. So there is a battery component to this. You have to have power storage. Okay. And so like everybody else, we thought, well, we'll just use LiFePO, right? Lithium, what do you call those? Lithium
phosphate iron.
Yeah, something like that. Lithium phosphate iron, something or other. Yeah, the basement explosion device is what I think of it like now. Okay. So I think we've all, since the last few months, have seen enough lithium ion batteries catch fire that the fire trucks can't even put out. How many have seen a car, one of their electric cars on fire, and they cannot put that fire out? Have you noticed that? That's a big problem.
Yeah, I don't like parking near those batteries because you never know. There's really, really bad stories.
Exactly. So imagine, okay, and we have watched video of cars that are on electric vehicles that are on fire, and the firemen are dousing it with water. They're pouring water on it. They can't put it out. Even when they think they've put it out, they take it and they put it by itself in some field so that in case it reignites, it doesn't burn anything, right? If this thing catches fire inside of a garage, say goodbye to the house. Yeah. But what if that's the backup power for your house?
Well, that's the thing. There's a lot of things to think about. It's not just, okay, now I have portable energy, now I'm taken care of. There's a lot to it, that has to be taken into account and built in, the safety features and everything, redundancies, so that you don't have to worry about all that. Because if things were to happen where you would need it, you're not going to have take it from me, I've had the luxury and the freedom to be able to work things out, but that luxury isn't always going to be available, even if you're to be able to figure those things out. So it not only it's not just enough to pick a method of providing for your family for energy, but also all the nuts and bolts and everything hammered out. That's a big deal.
It is. And this particular issue kind of caught me a little bit by surprise, because I kind of presumed when I first started in November of last year, we said, hey, let's get these units out. Let's do this. And we had to put a screeching halt on it because we realized this was a major security problem. You cannot store power in something that could at any time, if it got wet, which could very easily happen in different parts of the country. Maybe not as much here because we don't have the same, climate that other people have, but we were talking to people all over the country, really all over the world. So they're going to be in humid situations. Some of them are going to be near water. That was way too much volatility and way scarier than we realized initially. So for those that are wondering what took so long, we had to find alternatives, and we did. But we first had to look at everything that was out there. So LifePo is the number one way that solar companies and solar providers, that's their go-to power source, which, by the way, doesn't last that long.
Right.
Lead acid also does not last that long. So we went looking, and we knew because of what he had told us that we would find something off the shelf, but that we needed to find the right one that would be green, right? Recyclable. Okay. Because that's another thing. It has to be recyclable. It can't be something that is poisonous to the environment. How does that work? Right. And it had to be something that lasted and would be good for many, many cycles. So it would last 10, 20, 30 years,
And also the system as a whole had to be robust. It had to be something solid that could be relied upon. And that was a lot of it too. It's like you could theoretically have something that works, and we did a while ago, but it has to be, when you're in that type situation, it can't be a type thing that's, not easily able to be warranted, guaranteed, and repaired. And the key to that,
or that puts people in any form of danger. So that was the big thing for me, is that, hey, I'm not going to be responsible for somebody's house burning down because a battery caught fire. So, so we definitely started to look at that. And there's a lot of problems in this particular field. And most of the alternative power choices that people are looking at are gas, diesel, propane, propane generators, right? So you got three choices there in terms of a fuel-based generation system that obviously present more problems because you've got volatile fuels. You also now, if you are a camp or a prepper or just a homeowner that would like to keep your privacy, you ain't going to have privacy if you bring in fossil fuels and try to store them on your private property, because guess who's going to come show up? And guess who's going to make sure you're doing it right? Yeah, your good old government will be there along shortly to make sure if you spill 1 gallon of that on your soil, they can declare your land as having been contaminated. They can do all kinds of things with that. So that presents a lot, not to mention the the volatility of fossil fuels to store. So if you're trying to store, say, 6 months worth of gasoline or a year's worth of gasoline or diesel or propane, you got yourself a challenge, don't you, Jeff?
Yes, you do. Not to mention also, just to throw this in there, they're loud, too. And
yeah, there's not to mention the sound. Yeah.
They're loud, they're volatile, they can be dangerous. And what if you can't get them? What if you can't get
the fuel?
Gas?
What if you can't get gas? What if they outlaw gas? Now, Mike Adams just did a report, and he's talking about them outlawing gas generators. What? Right? So how many people right now are going, oh, man, that's my go-to, right? I got a 300-gallon tank out there full of gas just in case. And they think they're going to be their plan, okay? And it's a highly dangerous plan. And by the way, if you're running a gas generator, you better have that thing well ventilated.
Yeah. Oh, right.
You can kill everybody in your family if you put that in your garage or in any enclosed space. All right. So, and people have done that. The family deceased because they didn't know that there was going to be emissions that would kill them. So, a lot of dangers come with using those methods.
It's not a preferred method. It's not a preferred method.
It's not a preferred method. And how mobile is it? That's the other thing.
Not very mobile.
Not very mobile.
No.
Not very good for if you are trying to if you're operating in stealth mode, you can read into that however you wish. But if you're trying to operate in stealth mode of some sort, and you got some loud generator that's popping off, you're kind of shouting and now remember, you're in a grid down situation. You're letting everybody for 5 miles know you got a generator. It's clack, so there ain't no hiding that. And maybe initially it's not a problem, but that was another thing that we thought about, wasn't it? It was the security of the people.
You have to think in those terms because it's not like it is now. Like you said, it's a different environment, and your neighborhood doesn't act the same way that it did in a free society.
Right. That's right. I think everybody instinctively knows that societal breakdown in grid down situations. I remember I grew up in New York and the blackouts. If you had a blackout, man, you better be in a safe place when the lights go out. I just got to tell you that right now. You don't even want to know how many horrible crimes occurred in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, that was 1 or 2 days. That was just 1 or 2 days. Yeah,
that's right. If they know it's not coming back on for any length of time, for a minute, that's going to be a real volatile situation for people, which is going to run them right into those who are creating a control matrix. So it's a really simple thing to figure out. And so those typical solutions are gas or fuel generated power. The other option that you see, and out here in southern Arizona, we see it, and in California and other places where there's a lot of sunshine, is solar. So why don't you tell us some of the challenges we have with solar? First of all,
solar's great if you're in a sunny area, which this is.
Yes.
It's a definitely
there it is.
Option. But boy, it's a huge upfront expense. You need a lot of to accomplish whatever your kilowatt usage is that you're trying to accomplish that you decide you need. You need a lot of panels and you need a lot of batteries because you got to store everything during sunny times for the night and for cloudy days. So you need a ton of batteries to tide you over to get to whatever it is, 5,000 watts an hour average. So it's expensive, huge expensive, a lot more expensive than people realize to get a real solar systems. Same exact thing with wind, by the way. When you start getting up to 5,000-10,000 watt units, they get expensive, And if you're not in a windy area, like below 17 miles an hour, you're not really
that isn't going to work.
The peak of the power curve. You're kind of, wasting your time. But
there you go.
Yeah.
So solar, and the other thing with solar that I saw right away, and I'm just sharing this with you guys because this is just stuff that I think about. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm a shepherd. I'm thinking about security. I'm thinking about my people and my family not being in added risk, right? So, I mean, there's wisdom in seeing trouble afar off, as the scripture say, and hiding yourself. So, or avoiding it, as the scripture says. So you see trouble, a wise man sees it coming, steps off that road. And so what I saw was everybody that had, I mean, solar on your roof is kind of a big indicator that, you've got energy independence. And I don't know if everyone knows this, but there's a real problem with copper and copper theft. I mean, they'll cut entire power lines just to steal the copper. Okay. And especially in Southern California, it's actually quite epidemic level. So, I mean, any scrap metal. So what do you think that's going to happen to solar panels off people's houses? Again, in a grid down or a situation where there's societal breakdown, that makes people volatile, especially in a high urban environment. All right. So, I mean, these are your solutions. This is it. These are your choices. This is what you have. And if one of those don't work for you, the other thing that I started to see a lot of was these little battery backup units, right? So people were getting battery backups and okay, I've got a battery backup. Here's the problem with that. You need the grid to recharge your battery backup.
Yep.
Okay. You got to have that grid. So if that grid goes down, yeah, your battery backup's got a few hours of power for you, and it's going to help you at least make a phone call or keep yourself going. But at the end of that cycle, you're done because that thing depends on the grid to keep itself recharged. I mean, I have a UPS, I have an uninterrupted power supply under my desk that is constantly charged, and it gives me about a 20-minute shutdown period, like a laptop battery, and allows me to turn my system off if the power goes down, right? But that's not going to sustain you over long periods of time. So all the solutions you're seeing them on social media, you're seeing them on Facebook. They're either battery storage, advanced, and I mean very, very fancy battery storage, very expensive also. But that's it. They're just battery storage, right? So that's great if you have an active grid. But if the grid's down,
it assumes the grid's going to be there to recharge it. So
exactly,
it's very good.
It's a setup. It's another setup because now if you're depending on this, the grid's got to be there, which means they still have you. You get it? This is really the crux of it is, are you truly off the grid? Are you truly able to generate what you need without dependency on them for your power, right? So these are the problems that people are facing. And no matter how much money you have, okay, I mean, solar for this place, by the way, $120,000. That was the bid I got. It was a roughly $120,000.
People are amazed when they look into solar and they find out how much it is.
$120,000 to do the same thing that we're accomplishing. Okay, that's how ridiculous that stuff is. Very expensive. And again, should you have to bail, let's say you got to jump in the truck and you got to go. It's time to move to your plan B location. You can't take your solar with you. So that investment's gone. That stays right there in property A.
You're going to need something portable. Because right now on the grid, think about it. Basically what they did was they tricked you into renting your energy, number one, and being in a fixed location, number two.
Yes. So in a fixed location. So the only place you have secure power is your where you're paying your bill, right? The place you pay your bill.
Yeah. We'll meet you here in this spot. In this spot, we'll allow you to rent power. And that's not what's going to be.
That's a great way to put it, though.
That's not what's going to be needed. What's going to be needed is relatively small and portable, and something that you don't have to continually get your fuel constantly to fill it. Those are the three requirements.
There it is. There it is. So you guys are caught up now. You're like, that's quite a pickle. That's quite a challenge. How do we solve that? Because you're right. If I have to go get gas, especially in societal breakdown, I was talking to my brother Jerael the other last week, I think, or 2 weeks ago, and he was talking. He couldn't get online because his power was out, and he was mentioning to me that there were people that were trying to go up and get gas at the gas station,
right.
and it hadn't occurred to them
Right.
that
Oops.
the pumps
how do you get the
off.
gas? Yeah.
So even if you have the money and you even get to the gas station, that doesn't matter. You ain't filling nothing up because the pumps are off.
I ain't worried about the grid being down. I got a gas generator. I ain't worried
I got a gas generator, right? But you can't get gas.
Go to the gas station. So, we ain't got gas for you. Yeah.
Come on. So, okay. And again, and this is why I commend my two golden chartered partners, because they had the foresight and wisdom to say, yeah, you're right. There's a problem, and we need a solution that does not tether us in any of these places. So I have good news for you, folks. See this guy right here? He helped me make that thing happen. And we are very, very excited to announce that we have, in fact, accomplished our goal. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about the NewKingdom Energy product. And the only way that I know how to, or one of the things that I want to help you understand is the way that it functions. And one of the things that, because I have no intention of keeping this, we thought a lot about this. Our thought was, at first we were thinking, well, we'll build them and we'll ship them out to people, and we'll build a factory out here. We got plenty of land, and we'll do that. We'll raise some money and we'll build them and we'll ship them out to people, right? That was our thought. But little by little, we began to realize that the amount of capital that we would have to have in order to set such a thing up, plus the time, that's the issue. Even if we had $10 million tomorrow, okay, the amount of time it would take would be enormous. So we don't have that kind of time, folks. We just don't. So as we went forward, we began to realize, no, we need to figure out a different way to get this out to the people. And so what we've come up with is that we're going to provide instructions. We're going to provide the materials. We're going to provide the connections that we've made so that you have the resources that we have tested and found work. And then with the exception of my two partners who will have our services in that regard, everybody else will have to be putting some things together themselves, which is fine because it's not very complicated. It's not that hard. And if you're elderly, you will need help because some of these things are very heavy. So, you have to realize that that's something that we can't do anything about. The weight of certain components is a factor. So we were trying to work to reduce that, and we're doing our best there, but that is a factor. So it is a two-man job if you're going to be carrying, components to a truck, but it can be done. That's the key, is it is portable. You can put it in your truck and take it with you. All right. You can go underground and use the system. You could go into a barn, or other location where otherwise there wouldn't be power, and you could power it up there. So in other words, it becomes a portable generation system, not just a, solution for your house. It can go anywhere if you want to transport it. That was an important element for me because I didn't want to, I wanted to encourage people to have flexibility and to think that way, because honestly, this is days of great peril. Okay. So if you can take it with you, that's fantastic. Right. And that means it goes wherever you go. That's fabulous. And so we began to pray and ask him. And what I began to ask about was, what I was concerned about is I started to see that there's already a lot of components. They're already working. So we have out here, we have a lot of solar setups. And again, these people paid enormous amounts of money for this. But it's really very simple systems, except they rely on the sun to charge their battery systems along with the grid to keep them stabilized, right? So we started looking at some of these components, and we found some pretty interesting things, didn't we? We found out that we could mix and match some things that didn't necessarily match together and still produce amazing results. So I wanted to talk. Huh?
Oh, go ahead.
Say that again.
No,
that again.
That's the thing I personally am happiest about, is the fact that there was a strong emphasis on off-the-shelf parts, and because of that, it's simple, it's robust, it's solid. It can be done in a complicated way, but this is much more simplified, and which actually took more time to do. But once done, now it's much easier to maintain, fix, do all that. And that's the part that, like you just said, like Apostle Peter just said, off the shelf, parts and components. And to me, that's what I'm happiest about. That's the best thing. And because it's not just the generator that people are going to need. They're going to need something that works and that's reliable.
Yes.
So,
and that doesn't require a volatile fuel or solar, which may or may not be there, or wind, which may or may not be there, unreliable, or a river. I've heard people say, "Oh, I've got a generator that runs off water power." All I got to say to you is Euphrates River, biggest river in the earth, and it's empty. It happens. So it's like you have to think about all the possibilities and then say, what I know will work regardless of any circumstances. And that's what we began to look to. Now, before I go any further, I want to share something with you tech people out there that you may not know. But in order for a motor to run at optimal efficiency, the power that it's receiving has to match or resonate with that motor in order for it to run very efficiently. Okay? So would you be surprised to find out that every power company who has GE on their board or in any way connected with them ensures that the transformers are absolutely not in sync with any motors? There's a reason for that, folks, that we found out. We found out that using motor to generator technology, you could produce surplus power, but you had to have a high efficiency. So that was one of our first tests that we did. We discovered that reality, and then we began to look a little closer. Because first of all, we realized we're being lied to. Now, how many have ever heard that perpetual motion or over unity was impossible? I did. I heard that was impossible, even though the sun rises in the east and sets in the west every single day. But we were told that that's not possible. So our lying eyes, right? We're looking at perpetual motion in our world, but no, that's not possible, right? And then little by little, you're seeing people break that notion. These little magnet generators and these little different gizmos that people put together, and they don't stop.
Yeah.
And they don't stop. And so you go, here, let me give you another thought that he gave to me. And I realized as we were doing this, and that's that they couldn't sell you power. They could sell no one power if they couldn't produce more than they were putting in. So if all they could produce was what they were putting in, they couldn't sell you any.
And make a profit. Yeah.
And make a profit. So we started going, wait a second, there's something wrong with this whole entire thinking process. They convinced entire groups of people that this was true. And so they didn't even bother. And we talked to people that hadn't even, that won't work. Have you tried it? Well, no. Well, have you ever bought these components and put them? No, I already know that won't work. Oh, so from your couch, right? That'll never work. They did it. They effectively shut down all the people that would have caught them. They shut them down. So they didn't even bother. Okay, I want to show you guys a video. Go ahead.
We can spend hours just on that topic alone, but I don't want to get off topic. Getting into discussion with an engineer about over unity and there's no such thing as free energy. It's a pointless discussion anyway, because any way you slice it, let's say you say, well, it's all there. It was already there. All the energy was already there. It was just potential, and then it got realized, and so all the energy was already there. Nothing new got created. Well, okay, so what do I care then whether I can create new energy? If I live on a houseboat in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, am I going to get into an argument with someone over, hey, you can't create new water? It's impossible to create new water. What do I care if I can just go in the side of my house, my houseboat, and get all the water I need from the ocean? So either way you slice it, it's irrelevant. It's such a dumb discussion.
It really is. And if you go back 150 years, you're going to find houses or buildings that were harnessing ether and harnessing power through various technologies that we have forgotten. In fact, they had to tear down buildings because they didn't even know how they worked. That's a whole different discussion. But it goes to show you there's more power available on our Earth than we know about. We live on an electric universe, and there's power everywhere.
We see it all the time around here. There was rain clouds that they tell you is just water particles, particles. But yet during a lightning storm, they'll produce trillions and trillions and trillions of watts of energy from the lightning strikes. Well, what's inside that cloud? Is there a nuclear reactor inside that cloud? we see examples all the time, and right. the universe is supposedly entropic. It's decay, chaos, but yet it's an ordered system. So where's all that order coming from? Where's all the energy from the sun? They tell you, well, that's nuclear fusion going on in the sun. Well, what's powering all that nuclear fusion? What's powering the electromagnetic field on Earth? I mean, how many people have ever gone to make a phone call and then gotten a text from the phone company and said, whoa, you're going to make a call? Oh, hang on a second. You caught us off guard. Let us power up the electromagnetic field on Earth so the signal can carry, so the signal wave can carry, so you can make the call. By the way, do you happen to have 1.2 gigawatts of power? No? Oh, okay, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. We'll power up the electromagnetic field. Don't worry about it. And then you'll be able to make your call. What's powering all of this? Of course, there's new energy coming in all the time. We might not be able to create new energy, but somebody is putting new energy into this ordered system that we call Earth, this Earth plane, all the time. There's an unbelievable amount of energy required for
By the way, this is true.
For
what he just posted here, every 10 feet you go up, there's voltage.
Oh, where did that come from?
Where'd that come from? Right?
Gee.
Okay, that's a true statement. All right. That electricity is coming all the time. You have electricity all around you. So to think of it only as what you are, by the way, electricity doesn't even move the way people think. It doesn't move through wires. So it's just lots of things we thought worked a certain way, like a pipe, and it doesn't work that way. But I want to show you something that I know a lot of people will think is a bit controversial, if you will. It's a particular type of engine. It's called the Liberty engine. And I've dropped this on my Facebook timeline. So I'm not hiding anything. I tell people straight up, look, these things work. They don't necessarily believe it. That's fine. So we don't necessarily believe it either. So you know what we did? We tested it. But before I get to that discussion, let you take a look a little bit at what this thing looks like. And this is a electromagnetic engine that basically has no fuel. Here's the exact construction process that they went through to create this meter. And I'm going to pause it right here and back it up, because he's putting this 12,000 watts are coming out of this thing just to hold on. Power. He put these 4 heaters on there. Now, by the way, if you've ever tried to use heaters on the same circuit, you know very well that if that is not producing the power, it'll trip the circuit. If it was coming off a grid, it would trip, and it certainly wouldn't be There is no what do you call it? Battery pack that you could hide that would be sufficient to run 4 heaters. Okay, there'd be no way. So when you see this, you're seeing technology that is now slowly being released, and you won't find it for sale, by the way. They'll show you how to build it, but they won't sell you one, which is really interesting. All right. And so they walk you through the entire process. I will put a link in the description for this particular video so that you can go find it on BitChute. And this is the picture I love because he's got 1, 2, 3, 4 industrial heaters. And then somebody was saying, well, he's hiding a battery in here. I'd like to know the battery. I'd like to know the battery that could run 4 industrial heaters so it could trick you. We know it's not a trick, but just pretending that it was. What battery could possibly do that and be hidden inside the thing? It's just not possible. So this particular engine does in fact work. And how do I know that, Jeff?
Because it's been duplicated.
Because it's been duplicated. So we wanted to find an efficient way. Now I'm going to give you the secrets. You ready? Write them down, guys, because I'm not hiding nothing. You ready? Okay. I wanted to be able to recharge those same solar batteries that are used for off-grid using the same inverter. However, relying on solar power was too volatile. Not only that, but as soon as the sun goes down, I'm out of luck. I got no more power generation. I'm no good until the next morning, right? And so if you're really, truly off-grid, not a hybrid where you have some grid and some solar, if you're truly off-grid, okay, completely off-grid, your batteries are everything. They are really expensive, and the more you cycle them, the deeper you cycle them, the less they live. So if you take a battery from, say, 100% and you bring it all the way down to 5%, okay, because you drained it, or you really can't go down to 5, but you know what I mean? You drained it down. You're now having to, that's what a cycle is. So when you see 6,000 cycles, that's what they mean by that. So they're saying you're able to drain it and refill it. Drain it 6,000 times. Well, yes, but you're going to lose efficiency, and also it's going to wear the thing out. So if you go down that low all the time, which is what off-grid solar does, you've got a problem, don't you, Jeff? You're going to run out of battery power at some point. You're going to be replacing those batteries in less than 5 years, probably, with lithium ion for sure, and lead acid. If you're using lead acid batteries, you're going to run into that problem as well. Our solution is a lot longer lasting battery type, no volatility, and it's 100% green. But here's the trick, and here's the thing, folks. If we're able to keep the power going back to the battery system through the inverter, through the system to continuously recharge the batteries, they never reach that lower cycle. They never get there, no matter what you're doing. So even if you're running washing machine and dryer, so we have one system we set up, was the target was 5,000 watts continuous. And so that was our first effort, because that's about what the average house needs. I mean, the most you're going to need most of the time, at least for us anyway, for our cabins and so forth. We couldn't see much more than 5,000 watts per cabin, right? So, or per, small domicile. And if you're in a grid down situation, I don't think you're powering everything up. You're thinking, okay, I've got to make sure I have my basics, right? My refrigerator, my air conditioner, or heater if it's winter, and my appliances, my computer, my whatever other appliances you want to plug in. Okay. But here's the thing. If you are able to recharge those batteries continuously, like the sun does for those 12 hours, except it's not 12 hours, it's nonstop, or whenever needed, it's a game changer. It's a total game changer, because now that same setup minus the panels, which are buku bucks, right? That same setup is constantly being recharged. All right. So those batteries don't go dead. Now, that only works if the amount of power it takes to generate power is less than the amount of power coming out. So, Jeff, we ran a prototype test. I was super excited about it because we knew, of course, what the results would be. And sure enough, what did we find out? What did you find out in your prototype test?
Well, the thing that I'm happiest about is the fact that Chase was impressed. That's what impressed me.
The headmaster of New Kingdom Academy, right? He was impressed. Okay, that's good.
That's right.
He doesn't. He's the straight guy. He doesn't play.
Nothing. It takes a lot to get a reaction like Chase. A lot.
Yeah. Exactly.
He's Mr. Academic, and he's very precision, precise in testing. But no, we had very, very favorable results.
Right.
Very confident in it. But most importantly, even more so is the fact that it's off the shelf stuff. It's safe, reliable, easy, repairable, fixable, solid. That's the part that's amazing.
Well, give them some. Don't leave them hanging. Tell them what happened. Tell them what you had in and what you had out. And this is a small test. This is not even a huge test.
Yeah, this was just a proof of concept test. We had 50 watts in and 1,500 out at its peak. And it was.
You want to say that again? You want to say that one more time?
Yeah, and it maintained for a good amount of time before we finished the test. 50 watts in and 1,500 out.
So there's a guy by the name of Morin, Morin is his last name. You can look him up online. He does some amazing videos. I forget his first name. Amazing videos on voltage multiplication.
Mm-hmm.
And how to amplify voltage. And so some of what we're doing, again, just using components that are available. So when we tell you, go get this component, go get that, it's going to work. You'll see for yourself, right? But the point is that you were able to take a small amount of measured power. We measured exactly how much was going in, okay? And what come out was a vast multiplication. And so again, this is extremely important because you've essentially you could create a loop right there. So you could take your output power to power your input and keep it going indefinitely. All right. Now, our intention isn't to prove perpetual motion. I think that's already been proven. So I'm not interested in debating whether it is or isn't possible to create something that would just keep going indefinitely. Anybody that's seen the little marble that went in the hole and pops out the top, goes around the spinny thing and goes back down the hole and does it again indefinitely, knows that it is possible to do that. That wasn't so impressive to me. You know what was impressive to me? Could you keep my batteries charged all the time? That is what I wanted to see. I didn't care about proving some concept or breaking the internet. I don't care about any of that. What I care about is when I turn that switch, those batteries are 100%. AC is coming out. I got all the amperage I need to run. I got 20 amps coming on this circuit, 20 amps coming on this circuit, right out of the box, whatever I need. Okay. I can plug it in and I'm good to go.
Yeah, and I just want to say one thing to not to get off on a whole topic, but to anyone who's coming at it from an academic point of view, I don't think anyone is trying to get into that discussion or of free energy or new energy being created. I think it's enough. There's more than enough from radiant, ambient background pulling in from the ether. Magnets, just the power of magnets alone, as Apostle Peter just said earlier, just getting things in unity, in resonance, having them work together. Just that alone is more than enough. And none of that involves over unity. None of that involves trying to prove an equation is wrong.
Nope.
because you can sit here and
It's
get
just
into an
the
argument
advantage of
about
efficiencies. It's about efficiency, folks.
it's efficiencies with existing ambient energy that already exists. So no one's trying to get into a discussion about an equation in a closed system.
It's not possible for any system to be 100% efficient. But what we can do is put more power in than you're using.
Well,
so in that sense,
you can draw in a closed system. You could make any argument, but if you include an open system, the full universe that Elohim gave us, if you include all energy available, including the energy that gets used every time you make a phone call, because what's that wave carrying through? It's carrying through a soup of electromagnetic field. So if you include the open system and not only narrowly define it as a closed, only this in and only this out, if you include the full environment of magnetism, ambient background energy, back EMF.
No spooky science, folks. We're talking basic, simple, known things like magnets do this. Wires based on their gauge do this. Like nothing, we didn't create some new mystical thing, right? We just took what they told us was for this, so they didn't expect us to make this match, right? This mixing and matching of these components. We have a certain element off the shelf that makes your energy more efficient as it comes out. So you take that and you add it to your output, and it improves the energy, the electrical energy coming out. These are all little things, but boy, do they add up big time.
Let me give a simple example. Well, first of all, it actually is in physics. There's a well-known formula, F equals ma squared. Force or energy equals mass times acceleration squared, multiplied. In other words, energy is multiplied when there's motion. So, but usually in physics, they focus on that as a problem. It's the force necessary to get something moving, like a plane, the force necessary to get something to accelerate. But if you look at it from the other angle, it means that if anything that's moving or accelerating produces exponential power. So it is in physics. They just people don't focus on it for whatever reason. But I'll give you a real simple example of what you just said, of things working in unity with one another. If there was a child swinging on a swing set, and you went out there and you went to push only when the child is swinging back at you, and then that's the moment where you tried to push and you got knocked over, it wouldn't be very effective. You wouldn't produce a lot of energy. Versus if you waited till the child swings back and then you push at the exact moment when they're high, and then you're moving with the swing, moving with the motion, that swing will go really high up and you'll produce more energy. Now, no new energy was used, but you were in resonance. The two circuits,
what was that?
Were in resonance with each other.
Bingo.
Yeah.
You're in sync.
In sync.
You do it instinctually.
Right.
You barely need to use any energy because you did it in sync.
Right.
But if you're out of sync, if you catch it when it's still coming this way, for example, you need a lot of energy to push it back that way. But if you wait until it's already moving that way, you can just touch it. And that's how I push the boys to get them high. There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
in the same way, if you work with magnets and to where it's always moving with you and
this way,
in favor this way, then
what happens is it accelerates.
It accelerates, and you multiply power. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
But you don't have to increase the pulse.
People. That's in your textbook. That's physics.
You don't have to increase the pulse to keep it going, so it doesn't require. That's where we're able to create the efficiency. Are you understanding? And again, guys, not trying to keep this a secret. So all you engineers and electricians and people out there going, really? I'm gonna go try a couple of. I hope you do, because I would love to see your notes too. I promise you, everybody that starts, if we all started to work at this, we would not only make the progress we've already made. This was with 2 partners. 2. That's it. Okay, that's all we had, and we long ago spent those funds on different pieces, that some of which, there's a trial and error in some of this. You got to find what works and what doesn't. We found inverters that weren't very good, okay, that were a piece of junk. In fact, they threw us for a loop because we were going, what's going wrong? And that was the piece of equipment was faulty, off the shelf. Happens. So you got to test that, make sure that's working. You got to get the right components. There's going to be a bit of a trial and error. But here's the good news. The good news is we are not quitters. Okay. And I'm determined to get this done. And so I knew what he told me was true. And I'll never forget Jeff walking up to me about a week ago. I think it was roughly about a week ago. And he had been slaughtering chickens, and he was really busy with like 5 other things. So I wasn't really expecting him to walk up and, but I knew he was working on, making sure that we could make this broadcast, making sure that the results were in fact certifiable, if you will. And he walks up to me and he says, it just, made me stop, and comes walking up. He's all the way over to me, he puts his hands on his hips, and he puts his head down and says, "We did it."
I was pretty happy.
Right? We did it. Okay. Now, just not inventing it. He has a very, very, we're like shoestringing here, guys, but we're putting
it's going to help together. A lot of people. It's going to help a lot of people.
And man, I'm telling you what.
Yeah.
So the pros of this, here's the pros. I'm going to give you the pros and the cons. Okay. So I'm going to give you both, guys. All right. Because us, we shoot straight. We don't play games. This is the deal. You got, you have to scale this to what you need. So we're going to talk about that here in a second, but just so you know that it's not like you can create unlimited power, some little unit. No, it's based on certain components. So if you have a demand of, say, 5,000 watts, which is what we were talking about, then, it has to be a certain size. And the numbers stay the same. The ratios stay the same. Everything stays the same, no matter how big or small it is. So you have to size it properly for the application. So maybe you have a workshop, like my sister Octavia and my brother Tony. Maybe they have, a place, 10 acres, and they want, independent power, which we're going to do. Well, then, that may be a different scale. They may be at 10,000 watts or 15,000 watts, right? So they're going to need a little bit bigger system. Same principles, same everything, just everything gets a little bit bigger. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's the difficulty in that is that can get heavy. So if you get too big, they're no longer portable. Okay. So if you're looking for portability, then you got to stay down around the 5,000 watt range, or even a little bit lower, but 5,000 watt range, you can definitely, move that. You can definitely, like, we have a case that we came up with, and that was our original design, except that the batteries cannot be cased that way. So only the output side can be cased. You can't case the whole thing. So that's the downside. That's like the blah, blah. It would have been nice if everything could have fit in one little box. That's just not possible for that size of a demand. Besides the fact that you have to have, in my opinion, a solid amount of backup power to accomplish the security element that I wanted. The checkpoint that I had in my heart requires that. Maybe somebody says, I don't really need that. I can just, pull it right out of the system. Okay. That'll be your call. But the way that we designed it and the way that we went forward was with taking all of that into consideration. So that's, the con can be that it can be heavy. The batteries are not light. So if you're by yourself, then that makes it more of a challenge, especially for portability.
The cons would be, it's heavy. If it's not connected to your main box or connected alongside with the grid, then, whatever your unit is, that's your max. With the grid, you always have the option, if you have a house party and, you need a lot of power for that hour, you can always get it. But if you're only on the generator, then that's your max.
Whatever you got is your max. Like that's
Yes.
it. That's what you can produce. You can't do anything to change that without changing the system, is the point.
Right. But you could connect it to alongside your grid, just like they do with solar, to where it'll first grab from the generator, and then only if the generator.
That requires an electrician, and it requires a thing that, what's that called, that you use to patch it into the grid? Transfer switch. I always forget. So it's not cheap. It's a couple $100, and then you got to pay the electrician to come put it in. If you want to put the system right into your box and to power your house. But again, remember, you better know how to disconnect that if you're thinking portability. Now, if you don't care about portability, right, you're not worried about, or maybe this is at your plan B location, right? This is your plan B. This is where you would go to, right? Well, then you're not maybe as worried about that. So just so that you're fully informed, just full disclosure, if you're trying to put it to your house, you need that transfer switch to get that done. It's not the hardest thing in the world to do. It takes, probably an hour for a decent electrician to knock it out, maybe less, but probably a lot less. An hour, maybe a long time. But the point is that it does require that you deal with that. So that's a con, if you will, if you want to look at it that way. Or you can plug right into the system itself and bypass that. But again, those are some of the elements that you would have to be dealing with. And why I believe this solution, and I'm not speaking for Jeff, this is just my opinion. I'll let Jeff say what he believes, but why I believe this solution is better than the solutions currently on the market is there's no fuel that is volatile. You're using induction, you're using magnetic power, you're using the power of momentum. Essentially, once it gets to a certain point, it does its thing, and so that to me is a more reliable, a more consistent. Like once it's running, it runs. That's what it does. Unless something gets thrown at it or hurts it or impedes it in some way, it's going to just keep going. So that's the beautiful thing about it. It's not that complicated that, it has a lot to create problems for you. So moving into measuring, for those that are going, hey, I might want something like that, we have to determine, what your needs would be. Like, so that we're going to be sharing in our PDF that we make available, just how to determine that. And it's really not that complicated. You're basically looking at your electric bill, looking at your appliances, doing a little bit of a walkthrough and seeing what you might be surprised. You should do an energy audit anyway to know what your demands are. And that way you can know, wow, these appliances take how much, and some of the computers and things like that can get up there. So you do need to know what your energy footprint is, how much you're using. If you're one of those people, like one of my friends on the East Coast, he communicated with me and he doesn't use very much power at all. He uses a couple thousand watts on a continuous basis, not very much. He might be able to scale downward. He may be able to scale it to a smaller, less expensive components and still solve his problem. So we're just going to show you how, and then we'll work with you. We'll certainly, we're making connections with another element that slowed us down was making connections with suppliers that could be relied upon. And we're still doing that. So that's an ongoing challenge. And, we when we have success, we pass the success. When we have failure, we throw that one off and we keep going. And we find one that we can partner with, right? So the solution has to scale to your needs in your application. And the way that you determine that size is going to be based on your current demand. So you can take a look at your current bill, see approximately how much power you're using, calculate or figure out how much on an hourly basis, because watts are determined by hours. So if it's 1,500 watts an hour or 5,000 watts an hour, that's what you need. That's the size of your system. So, everybody has a different footprint. If you're by yourself, you're going to have a lot lower energy footprint than if you have a 6 person family, right? So these are all things that you need to know and kind of keep into consideration when you're dealing with the sub. And it's no different than solar or any other solution. You would have to figure the same thing out. We bought a generator based on what it would take to keep our kitchen going should power go out. Man, that thing is so loud. It's a propane. Man, that wakes.
Makes you think about how hungry you really are. You know, do I really need to power the kitchen back?
Do I really?
It's crazy. Like, oh man,
how important is this to me? Really?
What's in that fridge? What's in that fridge? As you're carrying the thing, it's like, what were the leftovers from yesterday? I can't get it.
This has actually been our experience. So just giving you our experience there, and so that's what determines your size. Okay, so that's something that you should know is going to affect you. And so again, just to recap this portion and just kind of wrap this up, everybody's going to have different energy needs, but everyone needs some off-grid energy solution. And even if all you have is a battery backup to make sure that you've got at least some power should the grid go down to at least communicate or get to a safe place. Look, folks, it's going to be very difficult to deal with societal breakdown, and that's where they're going to have an advantage. But the remnant are not afraid. We will not be afraid, okay? Because Yahuwah is our life and our salvation. Yahuwah is the strength of our life. Amen. And so, good question, by the way, Robert. Is it quiet? Well, Jeff, how quiet is it?
Well, it depends on the quality of the parts, and so it's relatively quiet. It's at higher RPMs, it gets into a whirring noise, like, but that's just because of the speed of the RPM. The parts themselves are relatively quiet. But
if you have this, if you had it in your utility room, if you have it in a utility room, or in our case, we have a shed that we're building around our power. We're going to build around our power situation. You're not going to hear it. I'm just going to tell you right now, you're not going to hear it. You're going to have to. We had a conversation like this. Okay, standing right next to it. We're talking like this, so it's not even drowning out our voices. Standing right next to it.
Yeah,
we couldn't do that next to the propane or the gas or any of the others, but we can talk normal voices, and and that's standing right next to it. So if you got it off to a corner or in a room by itself, that you're not going to hear this thing.
No, it's not anything like that. Where it's not something you're going to have on your kitchen table anyway.
We could measure the decibels. I guess we could get an exact decibel amount on it, but I think it would be really low. I think it would be. I mean, basically a little louder than a house fan. Just a hair louder than a house fan. So if you think about a house fan running on high, right? Window fans. Remember we grew up with the window fans turned on high. You could hear a little bit of a buzz coming out of them. That's a little, maybe just a hair louder than that.
I mean, they're quality bearings. They're quality bearings, but if the RPM gets up really high, you can a little bit of a whirring noise, but nothing
on bigger scale. On bigger scale, like if you're at 15,000 or 20,000 watts rated system, that might get a little louder. So that would be have to go into a maybe a shed or outdoor unit,
for sure,
just to keep the quiet. But even then, it won't be very loud. It'll just be you'll be able to tell it's running basically. Okay. And that is a really good question. So is this a backup power solution for those who want off-grid permanently? It is our thinking. Great question, Octavia. Thank you. Our thinking is we want the grid to be our backup. We do not want the system we're building to be the backup. We want the grid to be a backup. We want to only use them if we need them, and only because we've maybe exceeded. I don't suspect we're going to have this problem, but I'm just saying for the average person, Why won't we have this problem? How big a generator do we have, Jeff? What do we got sitting in waiting to go?
What do you mean?
Tell them how big it is.
The prototype or the propane generator? Oh, no. 250,000 watt. Yeah. Big enough. We'll get power on a section of southern Arizona. Yeah.
So we have on site a 250,000 watt power station, basically. So that's enough to power 12 camps.
Yeah.
Full camps, not just one build, not 12 buildings, 12
quarter
camps.
Of a million watts. Yeah, quarter of a million watts.
Yeah. So that would be in a separate building, right? So that's going to be in its own little shed. And if you walk by it, you probably hear it. You're probably going to hear it risen, but you're not going to hear it from your cabin. What good would that do?
Yeah. But another way of answering that question is with another question. How much do you want to pay every month?
Yeah. Once you own it, you own it. That's it. Once you own it, you just own it. And
that's what determines whether it's a backup for you or whether it's the relation, this, that, and the other. I mean, it's just a question of how much you want to pay.
It's another good question. Does it need to be cooled down? Jeff, does it need to be cooled down?
Part of what we spent the last I would say several months working on, it was specifically for the purpose of not having delicate parts and gearing more towards off the shelf for that very reason. So as of this stage, it is very much less vulnerable to any type of problems with burnout, heat, too much RPM. It is like extremely robust and stable. And even if there was an issue, it's very easily fixable by switching out a component. So It's not the case where you're sitting around and there's delicate parts, circuit boards, you're on pins and needles. Oh, is this part going to burn out? Is this going to burn out? That's not the case. A lot of what we've done, the Apostles' direction, was specifically for that very purpose. So I would say right now it's as stable and reliable as it can be, and it's much less vulnerable to any type of heating.
So to answer your question, no, we don't need to cool it down. If we had it in too tight a environment, that could become an issue. But we don't plan to do that. So let
me say this. If the question is in context of like a normal car engine, like friction, moving parts, moving against each other, no, absolutely not. That's not the case at all. There's no friction. There's no parts rubbing against each other. There's not like a car engine might overheat. If that's your
when I say motor, if I say engine, it's not the same as the gas engine,
absolutely
where it gets hot and things like that. There is, of course, just normal heat. Like it's 107 degrees here today, so I'm pretty sure everything's hot. Outside.
and also, wires can get hot from too much voltage, and there's things within electronics that components can get vulnerable to heat and things like that. But that is greatly reduced, and the car engine type of heating is non-existent.
No, it's not that. It's not that type of system, and so we're not dealing with any coolants or anything like that.
No.
So and it's not going to play secondary heater either. So if you're thinking, oh, it'll help heat my house, no, it won't. It's just not going to put out heat. It's just not
all the power gets transferred into usable power for output.
Okay, but that's a great question. Thank you for that question, by the way. Great question. And like I said, we've stood next to it. We've actually got a video where we're standing not far away, and you can hear it, but it's not drowning out your conversations. And again, like I said, this should be inside of a cabinet or some type of scenario where it's out of the way. I mean, there is spin, so you don't want anything near that, right? So we're building protective ways to deal with that. But nevertheless, I just want to answer that question so that you understand it. And it is a bit of a dream come true. It goes to show you, by the way, that you need to believe him when he speaks to you. And no matter what anyone tells you, including an engineer or an electrician or somebody with blah, blah, blah experience, always go with Elohim. Okay? Because if I'd have listened to the voices that were telling me it couldn't be done, I would have quit. And we wouldn't be sitting here today. So we have the victory because we didn't quit. And Elohim honored that and showed us the way to solve the problem. He knew how the whole time. The question is, are you going to keep walking? The hidden things belong to him. The things revealed belong to his sovereign sons and daughters. Somebody say amen. So, Jeff, why do they need to? So what should our audience be doing? Should they be just sitting back on their hands, or what should they be doing? Should we only have 2 people that have partnered with us, or should we have a few more partners?
At this point, a lot of things amaze me, but I would say, I don't claim to be prophetic, but I'm in relative agreement with you and other people that, boy, oh boy, I think energy is a big issue this year. And I think one of the reasons we worked so hard was not just for us, but to help as many people as possible, because I genuinely believe that we're all going to need portable, reliable energy. I really believe that, so
that's right.
This is as cost effective as we could possibly make it. And we work really hard for a good design that's simple and doable and anyone can do it. I think it's going to help a lot of people. But yes, I do think, I sure would not be relying on the grid, right now. So yes, I agree.
In the chat, I'm putting Jeff's email address at remnanthouse.org. Jeff P, just like his name, Jeff P at remnanthouse.org. And so if you're sitting back going, I think I want to get on the list for this, and I want to jump on board and help out, he'll tell you how to do that. But we want to tell you that you need to move. If you're needing a solution, and after listening to this realize some of those other solutions out there were not going to quite meet your checkpoints, and this might work better for you, we are desperately in need of more partners to help us out, to help out those that have already brought us this far, and we need to show respect to those that did. This is big for us. So those 2 are prototypes. So we're working the 2 people that helped us out, that gave us funds to work with. Okay, that wrote a check. All right, all right. Can I be clear here? They wrote a check and said, "Hey, we're in." There's the only 2 systems we're building. Okay, because they did that. Everybody else can just, they're going to get a list and they can go buy the parts and do the things that they need to do. But we wouldn't mind putting together a few more. We just can't build them mass scale. We can't build hundreds. But if we can get a few more partners in, that would be awesome. So please contact Jeff if you're interested and you have the means to help out. Please do. It will speed us along a little bit faster to get it into the hands of people. And that's important to us. And not everybody has the skill sets to do each of these things. So we're also trying to get in front of that. It's a delicate balance. I wish I could just run out to every one of your houses like we did with the oil. I wish I could just send every one of you. If I had the funds, I would probably do that. You would all just have one come into your house. So that's limited only by our resources, folks. So what's the benefits to immediate action? Well, I can answer this one. And that is that you are not going to be left behind. We care about our family. We care about each one of you. We know that you're facing a very, very daunting situation. You need alternative power. You could go through the same process we went through and prove that we're right if you want to. And you could spend a lot of time and energy spinning your wheels, or you can get on board and we can help push the rest of this way, push this thing up the hill, and let's get her done. So thank you for those of you that are already going, man, I'm in. And if you don't act now, if you don't find another solution, then what Mike Adams and others are telling you is going to happen will affect you, because that's when you're going to find yourself in the crosshairs. And now they have you, because you can't even keep your food cold.
Yeah. And if I could just say one thing in general, not necessarily specific to this, that, the sooner that communities like this or other communities start looking forward towards building the new community, towards the millennial reign of Messiah, right? The sooner we start doing that, the sooner we get to build our own economy, our own community, our benefit from each other's gifts and talents. And, we could use the help and the support and the, other people chipping in, and like, everyone has a skill set, and we love engineering, help and working together, and we can build our own community. And then pretty soon we're not worried about the old thing and separating from that grid. We don't care, because we've got our own community. We've got our own people, and we're sowing into each other's gifts and talents. And, we're the ones that provide all the power and the energy for that system anyway. Where do you think Babylon gets all of its stuff that it borrows and steals
They're
from?
They're selling you your own. Man, don't get me started, Jeff. Let's stay on topic.
Let's not keep giving our gifts and talents and expertise towards that. Let's do our own engineering. Let's do our own products. Let's do our own community. Let's do our own energy. Let's do our own agriculture. Let's do our own medical doctoring health. I'm kind of sputtering here, but you know what I'm trying to say. Let's get more thinking in that direction. The sooner we do that, the sooner it will happen, and the less time we'll have to worry about, the old system in Babylon. Who cares, right? So anyway, that's my 3 cents, right. And then we can do all kinds of things.
But let's not go too much further before I answer Rachel's question. So Rachel's question was, can we share this? Is it okay to share this with people outside the house? The answer is, of course, yes. We are not discriminating against non-members of Remnant House or anything. That's not the point. It was the members who helped us get here. So, by the way, thank a member. So just saying. I mean, come on, man. House is strong and courageous ain't no joke.
Yeah.
So show some respect for that. But no, you don't have to be a member of Remnant House to contact us and let us know, hey, we need some help. What can you do for us? Here's our energy needs. What will we need to get? What will we need to put together? Talk to Jeff. Get in touch with him. And just shoot an email, because we want to keep things simple. We can't do a bunch of phone calls. We'll never get any work done. So just shoot emails. He'll respond to you, give you all the information you need. Okay. And here's the other thing, guys. This isn't a competition. The reason why I'm coming right out and telling you. Now, I could have hid this. Okay. So everybody, anybody questioning our motives and what have you, what we could have done? We could have just built it. Walked over to an energy company, sold it to them, and they could put it in Smithsonian's back, back where they got all the giant bones, and you'd never see it and would never make the light of day. Okay, because they don't want you free. They don't want you free. They don't want you to know, what they're hiding. And I'm very, very, very proud of Jeff and our whole team. I have to mention Pastor Drew, because he was a huge help in a lot of the mechanical ends of it. I'm thankful really for the whole crew, because everybody had a part to play. And here, everybody plays so many roles that, we're multitasking as best we can, but we do need help. And so I'm not going to backpedal on that, or I'm not going to soft pedal that, rather. I'm going to tell you straight out, we could use your help. So we will take the help of those that see the value and say, hey, these are guys coming up with solutions for camps, okay? For whole camps, not just one house. This is scalable to a whole camp. So somebody tell some of these guys that are out there building camps, contact Jeff, contact Remnant House, because we can help you get your power solved where you're powering the camp without having to pay the county or the power company and keep them in business. Or you can be your own power company. And you need that. And by the way, this isn't even a new concept. Did you know that a lot of power where power companies were cooperatives put together by a small group of people in a community, and they put a power plant together, and then they'd all own a piece of it. A lot of people got wealthy in the 50s and 60s with power companies. GE, that's how these things got big, and to the point where now they're ripping you off, but it started off as a good idea. And we need to get back to the good part of that, the cooperative, doing things together. My personal belief, and this is just my philosophy, if you will, if you live on a property that is owned by or operated by the remnant, power shouldn't be something you worry about. Period. Dot. He lived here 2 years. Ask him how much he's paid for his electricity.
0.
Okay. All right. So folks, that's we believe that should not be something you deal with. You should have power. That's why I have a system big enough to power 10 camps in case because I plan to build more things. Right. So hopefully more people get involved, and maybe we'll have the funds to do more. We got plenty of empty space, so we're only waiting for lumber. So anyhow, we could have turned this into a just for-profit greed thing, right, guys? And next thing you know, you're paying some ridiculous number, just like the solar went to $120,000. You see what I'm saying? We're not trying to play that game, and we're not trying to get rich, and we're not trying to take over the world. We're not trying to corner our market. We're trying to share solutions fast, because you guys are running out of time, whether you know it or not. Okay? You're running out of time fast, and it's not good. And I'd much prefer to see you secure so that you can endure to the end without having to be sitting in the dark. And those are that's the drawback for not finding a solution, is it's going to hit you if next time you're sitting and the power goes out. Remember this conversation. Okay, if you can't just go flip a switch and put on 10 kilowatts of power to back you up, guess what? You now know how serious this is. And so this is where we are. And those are the issues. So this, compared to the other solutions out there, we knew we couldn't rely on what was already being presented. We were being set up. So we decided that we had to seek him, and he keeps leading us. Okay. And that, and your first step, folks, is to pray. The people that were courageous enough to partner with us and get in, they not only are getting their units, but they're going to have other blessings that are coming their way, because they helped me when I needed help. Okay. We need help now. So you can decide from there if you think that's a good idea or not, to come on board and get involved. I sure would love to see you involved, more so than waiting on the sidelines and going, oh man, and I wish I would have, and now I can't even order the parts, even though I know what I need, because everything broke down, and now I can't get shipping, and UPS ain't delivering anymore, and now I can't even get what I need. And your window closed, and that's that. And we're going to be sitting here with power, so we'll keep the light on for you. I'm just saying.
No, it's on. It's for everyone. Everyone, get while you can. Yeah, that's for sure.
You don't believe me? Go listen to Mike Adams. Go listen to these other guys. Go listen to everybody on the news. Don't listen to us. Listen to them. They're the experts telling you this grid isn't going to survive. This thing is not built. They want it to fail.
There's one set of electric supplies that I ordered that arrived 6 months later. Just got it about a month ago. I'd forgotten all about it. So, I'm just, and you talk to anyone.
This has been the challenge. This has been a major challenge. I don't like to complain, because, we just tough it out and we do what we got to do. But I was about ready to write to our partners, the two couples and say, hey, would you guys like a refund? And I still would, by the way, if because that's how we roll. But I didn't want to. I was so irritated with just that issue. So that's before societal breakdown. We got little battles of parts and things like that. What do you think it's going to be like once this pops off, right? So we got a window. We need to take advantage of the window while it's there. And yes, share the answers that we've come up with other houses. Please do. Feel free.
We're not claiming we didn't invent anything, by the way. We spent an enormous amount of time developing and packaging in such a way that it's of use to the average person.
Yes,
to where
but not inventing.
No, these concepts have been around for a long time.
We grabbed witty invention. Wisdom and prudence helped to produce witty invention. Amen.
But everything, planting, gardening, even a well, even a water well requires power to get the water out.
Yeah. You can't, your water goes off if you don't have power.
Yeah, your water goes off. So how do you water the plants to get the food? So it's important.
Hello. That power ain't no joke.
Solar panels, if they break, there's issues because they're out in the elements. They're out
hail
in the
damage.
Elements.
Okay. Hail damage.
Yep.
It's a biggie.
Yep.
And we have future weather that is potentially problematic. All right. So hail is a potential thing. The other thing is the volatility of physically being visible to potential enemies, right? So you got to think about this kind of stuff, guys. You can't just be naive. You got to realize that even right now, I mean, I have brethren, I don't want to call you out, but and I know if you're listening that you're in a very difficult situation. We have one member that goes out and their car's broken into all the time. That's now during this time. During this time, they're doing this. What happens when the lights go out? We got massive danger there. So having power, having electricity, having backup, not being volatile, not being vulnerable, big deal. At least to me, and I believe to many of those of you who are going to be safe places, who are going to be havens. You may be even a short-term, temporary. But guess what? Now you got an opportunity to preach the gospel. You're the only one with the lights on. Okay.
And all that assumes the monthly power bill remains the same relative to the U.S. dollar. Everyone's assuming it's only going to be $500 a month or $1,000 a month or what have you. So
anybody that's paying attention to our weekly news updates knows that you should have diverse currencies because the currencies of the West are likely to devalue heavily and probably really shortly. So it would be wise to have diversity in funds. Now, that is, I guess that's all I have to say about that. Got anything else you want to add before we let these good folks go?
No, I'm just.
What if? By the way, I got to mention this one more thing. So what if someone can't afford this solution? So what if you're sitting here and you're listening and you're like, man, I wish I could afford something like this. I'm pretty sure it's going to be expensive. And you're right. The pieces, we can't do anything about the pieces. The components cost what they cost. And you probably want to figure $1 per watt, is what you want to figure your cost is going to be roughly. Maybe even a little more than that. And to buy what you need. So if you need 5,000 watts, you can do the math. So what if somebody says, hey, I don't have that. I can't do that. So I'm out. No, you're not. If you can't afford it, but you want to secure a unit, there is a solution for that. And that's referrals. If you recommend people that end up coming on board, if you will, then that's going to help you. So talk to Jeff about that, and he'll email you and give you some additional information on how that will work. And so you'll be able to share the solution with others that may be in a better position, maybe that could take advantage of it, maybe friends or family, or other members of a congregation or whatever, people that you may know, and you bring them in, and that will help you. That will start reducing your cost. Okay, so talk to Jeff about it, because he will be able to share with you a solution to be able to offset some of that just by helping out. So it's a little sweat equity. Okay, a little sweat equity is a good thing.
It's a good thing to be able to talk to people about. It's a good thing to be able to talk about.
Yes, and it's not a conversation that people are not going to be interested in. Okay, they're going to be interested because they all feel the danger. So we did come up with a solution for those that were economically challenged and we're not able to afford a solution. Well, we have a different way for you to pay for it, if you will, through energy, through your effort, through energy, through NewKingdom Energy, right? Put some energy in and see what you come up with. And I believe that will be very successful too for those that do it. For those that just stand around and think about it and don't actually do it, well, nothing's going to work for that person because they're not active. And I'm not interested in anything but helping as many people as we possibly can. I have a really, really strong impression that there's going to be a lot of suffering. And, while we may not be able to stop that completely, we can be the safe haven, right? So that's something that I believe is, the least that we should be striving to do in this hour. Amen? Does everybody agree with that? Everybody in the chat agree that we should be doing the best we can to be as much of a blessing as we can be, right? At least I believe that. And so the base unit that we're talking about, I'm going to put this real quick on the screen. And this system here that we originally designed would have its outlets, and it's simple activation, clean sine wave, no fuels needed for operation, and no solar power. So if you do need to run it underground, you do need to run it, in a situation where you need to be quiet, and you can actually pull that off. And that's it, folks. So again, Jeff P. at remnanthouse.org. I'll be putting that in the description as well. I put it in the chat. So contact Jeff if you're interested. You're also welcome to give us a call at 612-564-2777. That's 612-564-2777. Give us a call, leave us a message, let us know you're interested. We'll call you back and see how we can help. Okay? I just want you to know that from now on, you can say, hey, my brothers, by the anointing and grace of our King, are working to help. And just know that, and know that you're not alone in this battle. Okay. And I know there are other people that are working on really good solutions too. There's a lot that's going to be coming out. It's an exciting time, guys. And we may find even more efficient ways to generate the same power. I'm pretty sure we will, because like I said, we've got other methods that we haven't discussed. So, this is a good time. We have to get through the doom to get to the boom. Okay, we got to get to the doom and gloom to get to the boom. And now you understand why, we were telling people, now we're not saying it anymore, but we were. Okay, so that window is fast closed, but we have nearly 200 acres that people could have been on. Nobody cared. Oh, okay, well, stay there. Okay, now we got to dig what you got to dance with the girl you brought now. Okay, now you got to stay there.
If you keep waiting even longer, you'll have to talk to Drew for various different things. I'm sorry, Drew. I love you.
Even if you're a member, you may have to go through a rescreening.
No, a rescreening. And that man.
No, we're teasing you. We're being funny. We're just
Pastor Drew is amazing. He does unbelievable work around here. Let me just say that, unbelievable. I mean, he's the work of 5 20-year-olds. He's invaluable, and he did great work on this, as did Brian. Brian did tremendous work as well with the energy project. I'm kidding about Pastor Drew.
I love him to pieces. He's special. He's a brilliant guy. And then we got Brian, who's amazing. You guys come out for Sukkot, you got to go to Brian's garden. We're gonna have this nice, beautiful entrance, Brian's garden. And you want to go in there and pray. I'm just telling you right now, this guy fasts and prays like nobody I know. Like nobody I know, man. You go in that garden, I don't care what your problem is, it's going to get fixed.
Unbelievable.
It's amazing. He does give sound wisdom. And, you know, folks, it comes from love. It comes from tears. It comes from authentically loving your brother and wanting to see them okay. And I don't want to see you guys hurt. What's my rule, Jeff?
No one gets hurt.
Nobody gets hurt, man. That's our rule. And we live by that here. Nobody gets hurt. And I don't want to see, you know, I can't make you all be under that, but I can encourage you, and I can certainly, like a good brother, say, hey, come on, man, let's get in front of this problem, okay? Let's get in front of this situation. So once again, 612-564-2777. Just leave a message, please. Just leave a message. We will call you back, and we will help in any way that we can. And we love you guys. We'll share our progress with you. If you want to come out here, you know, if you're an engineer or an electrician and you're like, man, I want to come out and hang out with you guys, come on.
Man, let's do it. There's so much that can be done.
Do it. Okay? Yeah. Let's collaborate. If you got a solution, I saw somebody's like, I got to do it. Hey, let's talk. Let's collaborate. Let's help our brothers. Don't corner the market. Don't be like these creepies out here who come up with solutions and then they're like, ugh, you know, no, come on. Let's help our brethren.
One of my favorite times is there's a guy James out here, and he's always coming up with inventions and everything. And one of my favorite times is just to go over there and talk to him about all the new stuff he's doing and inventions, and he's figured out
perfect example
gardening and the future.
And he openly will share with you anything you want to know.
Yeah,
you know, and it's just amazing. He's just an inventive. What an amazing guy too, by the way. He made his own freezer. He made his own walk-in freezer. Okay, am I telling the truth, Jeff?
Yeah.
Am I telling the truth? He made his own walk-in freezer. This guy did.
Doesn't pay a dime for it. Yeah, it's all powered by wind and sun and different things. And no, the future's exciting. It's exciting.
It's fun. It's fun, guys.
Electric-powered go-karts.
Yes.
Lazy rivers. You know.
Yes.
Juice bars. Let's do it, people.
Yes.
Come on. Let's
bocce ball
now.
Bocce ball.
Bocce ball. We just basketball. We just got the basketball just up recently, man.
The pool. Hey,
man, the pool. That's good. Yeah. Boy, Jeremiah, one of the young students, 5-year-old kid. He's already dominating on the court. He's going to be scary. That kid.
Listen, folks, you guys have a blessed evening. We love you all. I really, really am excited to have given you this update. I'm super excited and super proud of my team, of this team, and you should be too. And if you're one of those 2 people that helped us out, you should be really proud. You should be really thankful. And I hope you're blessing Elohim for this broadcast. I really do, because I certainly am. I'm so grateful that we got this far, and we couldn't have done it without help. So thank you for the 2 that did help us out, and for those that are considering it now and are saying, hey, maybe we need to think about how we can get involved in something like this. I'm super excited that you're even considering it, because I just see how it can just continue to help other people. Look, that's what this is about. So thank you all for joining us tonight. Thank you, my brother Jeff, for your time. And we sure would have loved to have seen more people take us up on Real Man Camp. We haven't had any response to that we thought we would get. We've got a few that said, I think I'm coming, and then things changed and what have you. All right.
We don't think any less of you. You're still real men, but you know,
we still love you. but the summer's not over, and we could still use your help. So if you feel up to it, if you can handle it, we'd love to see you. Amen. We'd love to have you come join us. And I want you to stay encouraged. Don't let fear come into your heart. Remember that he loves you, that he saw all of these things that we're dealing with way in advance, and he is not nervous at all. He knows exactly how to solve all the problems that we will face as we go forward. Just as he solved the problems of the children of Yasharel as they left Egypt and walked into the promised land, he knew how to fix the water. He knew how to fix their food. He knew how to provide them guidance, and he knew how to preserve them. I believe we're going to see that exact same wonderful blessing in this hour. So thank you to everyone who is out there, who's part of this house. All of you who have been partners with us. Do you see why that's so important? And now you know the value of a house more so than just any one particular person in the kingdom. You got to be together. You got to unite. You got to find your foe. Again, thanks for joining us, Jeff. I really appreciate it. I'm grateful to every one of you who are part of this moment, and I pray that you're blessed tonight. And I pray that you will find that place that Elohim has set apart for you. If this isn't it, if Remnant House isn't it, well, then I pray you do find it wherever that may be. Well, thank you again for joining us tonight. It has been a blessing. May Yahuwah bless each and every one of you. Shalom.